Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number 122, I think.
Take two.
It's impossible to know these things, seeing as we missed a week. So
You nearly died, to be fair.
yes, we should actually address the me nearly dying thing. That was COVID, guys. Not fun.
The COVID elephant in the room.
Yeah, it's really not fun. We did actually record an episode last week, with the intention of uploading it. It was really short. It was about 38 minutes or something like that.
Poor Levi was like just sitting there like a reanimated corpse.
Yeah. And on reflection, it just didn't feel right to upload it because, of course, this is a comedy podcast. We are supposed to entertain you, make you laugh. And it was really 40 minutes of wondering whether or not I'd make it through it all.
But there'd been at least 2 up likes.
Yes.
And Rob Chapman
and
Lance Benedict saw the video. Levi's ill like.
Yeah, love.
Right to YouTube. This is the best episode ever.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't funny. I wasn't really engaging all that much, and I didn't want to miss the week, but it took me filming the episode and then starting to edit it before I was like, you know what, I'd rather people missed an episode than had a bad episode. So
fair.
And I think it was a really bad episode.
I recorded it with you. It didn't feel bad at the time, but
Sure.
you're obviously doing the editing, so you'll know best whether in the post.
Yeah. And also, we spoke about some things that I think are quite funny, and I would rather have another stab at those things and try and actually make people laugh about the stories and have our take on them, rather than essentially me just sitting there like this.
Yes.
Waiting for you to say things and saying, please get me through this, Mike.
I feel sorry for everybody because that's the first episode where I took actual charge and went through it. But I think that's why it was so quick, because where you usually have a point for each story, I was just like, right, we spoke about this, fuck this is moving on to this.
Yeah, there was a lot of, at the end of stories, when they come to their natural ends, me just sort of staring at you and going, so should we talk about something else?
Just, please change the subject.
Yeah,
and me racking my brains for segues. I'm not as fluent as you. Anyway, this is one of your hosts, Levi Clay, joined by his handsome friend, Mike McLaughlin.
Look, he's learning to take charge.
Yes.
How have you been?
I beat you to it. Are you feeling better?
Mildly, yeah. I've got some kind of hangy on symptoms still.
Mm-hmm.
I still got a little bit of a cough. And fuck me, am I tired all the time? It's I'm tired all the time anyway. That's like obviously the running thing, but usually being tired all the time isn't enough of a reason for me to literally need to go to bed and have a nap. So I keep finding myself having to have daytime naps just to get myself.
You're an infant.
Yeah.
Next step, nappies.
I've been there a while actually. This just makes your life more efficient, quicker, easier.
It's funny you say that, right? Guy I used to work with in a call centre. Me and him used to have right good banter and whatever else. He convinced everybody in the call centre without telling me and keeping it a secret that I wore adult nappies. It was like 5 or 6 months in that somebody mentioned it, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Kevin told us that you're incontinent and you wear nappies. Obviously, they didn't want anything said. I'm like, that's the first I've heard it. You wee dick.
That is a wonderful prank, to be fair.
It was brilliant, man. It was one of the ones that went that long that, see, when I found it, I was just like, it's a masterclass. Because he's obviously had all these people convinced that it's true, but they couldn't confirm it with me.
Sure.
Because he's been like, don't mention it, please. Yeah. Like, you'll upset me. So fuck you, Kevin, you. Fuck you.
Nice. Yeah, nice. So here's another one for you. This is on the COVID update things. It's not a me COVID update thing, but I think maybe you'll agree with me on this, maybe you won't. Musicians have a reputation for being fucking painfully lazy. Like, painfully lazy. Unreliable, just lazy, useless, lazy bastards, right? So
raise the roof.
Yeah. So I mentioned I've been going out to Riding Room with Melissa for her residency every week.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we had to miss a couple of weeks because of COVID, etc. And then we thought I keep saying we like I'm involved, but obviously I'm involved in the decision making to a degree. When we had COVID, the idea was, before we had COVID, the idea was, Dean can't do this coming week because he's got COVID. Don't want to miss the gig, so we'll get in one of Melissa's contacts to play piano. Now that's a shitter of a gig when you really think about it. It's asking somebody to come in and play an hour of music. They've got to learn an hour's worth of music, and it's not standard stuff. It's not wedding band material. It's cabaret stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely not quick and easy stuff to learn. So we brought in her friend Moss Taylor, who did an interesting job, shall we say. He is the best piano player that she knows, and I can totally see why. He's an incredible piano player, but he's a jazz player. So he had chord charts that he wrote out for everything, and then he was just essentially improvising his way through it. Did a reasonably good job, but there are certain things like, if you're playing Lizzo's Juice, you need that melody in the after the chorus, etc. So these are things that reasonably it would be unreasonable to expect someone like Moss to nail all of that in like a few days of preparation. Well, she was brought in yesterday to do Pride Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
And needed a piano player for it because her regular piano player was on a wedding. And so she found someone, asked around because Moss was busy, and person agreed to do gig. And then maybe midnight the night before, just sent her a message and was like, "Yeah, I can't do tomorrow anymore. I've just taken a lateral flow test and I've got COVID." Don't buy that for a second. You know what I mean?
You're a skeptic, to be fair.
Who's taking lateral flow tests at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Probably people that are ill and think, I need to check myself out. But I would assume that if that was the case, any other reasonable person would send a message first and say, listen, just a heads up, I've been pretty ill today.
Yeah.
This is where I'm at. I'm going to do a lateral flow right now. I'll keep you posted.
Yes.
I'm really sorry about this.
Yes. Yeah, because...
not everybody's got that business acumen or even decency.
But that's kind of the reason I bring it up, because it's not just musicians being lazy, it's musicians being useless. You know, it's not having the right business. Way to deal with a scenario like that. I mean, Melissa was a bit of a dick about it to them and did, you know, it was like, oh, cool, no worries. Can you send me a photo of your positive lateral flow test? Because I really need to let the bar know that I can't do the gig, and I need a better reason than I can't do the gig, you know, a couple of hours before the gig is due to happen. She never got a response to that. So how unbelievably fishy.
I mean, all they've done is shoot themselves in the foot. Shit for Melissa, but one night's wages versus being stuck with somebody unreliable and then it actually happening like for a tour or whatever. Yeah. It's a small price to pay.
Well, it actually worked out better for her because she just turned up and did it on a solo acoustic thing.
Oh, good.
So, you know, it's two people's money going into one person's pocket that way. But still, it's just there's this fear, I guess, of musicians moving forward where, oh, COVID, oh no, I've got COVID, is a kind of free pass to get you out of things that you don't want to do. And musicians have a habit of desperately looking for reasons to not do things that they don't want to do. So yeah.
I don't need to be a musician to be like that.
Yeah,
I'm all about procrastinating.
Yeah. So I don't want to point this out to people and say that if you just want to get out of whatever it is that you have to do socially, COVID is actually it's not a convenient way of doing that, because you tell people, well, I can't come to this thing because I've got COVID. It also means you can't do anything for 10 days. So don't do that one. That's not a good one to do. But yeah, I just thought I'd regale you with that, because musicians are useless and they let you down, and if you want to be successful in the business, you need to be as self-sufficient as possible, and needing to rely on someone else to play piano for you is probably not the way to go. So there's that. There's my Debbie Downer routine for the day. So I'll just give you that. Anything else? Yes. Did you know? This show is brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. We want to remind you guys that there is still time to get involved in the upcoming Run 16 guitars. Those include these incredible hypes available in 5 new colours. That Dragon Burst is absolutely stunning. You can also get your hands on one of the Metal X's, again available in a range of finishes. My personal pick has to be these headless Vs, absolutely outrageously cool. Imagine one of those in an 8-string, I absolutely love these. And finally, the Ando San signature model, available in 6, 7 and 8-string availability. Go and check them out at Ormsby's website right now. This show is also brought to you by our friends over at Rev Amplification, a one-stop shop for all of your tonal needs. Head on over to their website to check out their range of lunchbox amplifiers, both the D20 and G20, 20-watt amplifiers with built-in 2-notes torpedo technology so you can record direct into your computer. If that doesn't suit, you can also check out one of their highly popular G2, 3 and 4 pedals, giving you that trademark Rev tone in a stomp box. Incredible tones, I use these myself. And finally, you may notice in the back of these videos a Rev Generator 120, an absolute masterclass in modern electric guitar tones. Check it out at their site now. So as always, a huge thanks to our friends and family over at both Ormsby Guitars, Rev Amplification and our friends over at VPix. We did this routine last week, where I encourage people to go and check out the Ormsby GTIs, which are the new Evertune
equipped
multi-scale
beauties.
Yeah, very, very cool. They are not pre-order based.
No, Perry bought them outright, so they just had them in stock as far as I know.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they're in Australia at the moment.
No, they're still on their way as far as I know.
Sure. So head on over to the website, check them out. They're absolute stunners. it may see something that you want, and you'll probably see one on this studio wall at some point.
I mean, I love that Perry was hinting them 3 months ago, and you're like, I'd like to think I've got one in order.
Yeah.
Even though he's like, they're not for pre-order.
Yeah.
Just kind of stirring the pot there, aren't you?
Yeah. You got to let people know what you want.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, says me that's been like, send me a thing.
Yeah. Whenever you can, send me a thing.
Yes, I like things.
To be fair, I know that feeling. Obviously, I keep getting guitars show up. If I tilt my head a little bit there, you can kind of see my Eric Johnson Strat.
Yes. What else?
Oh, that was here weeks ago.
Did we?
Yeah, we showed that on the
Did
show.
we? Right.
The mayonnaise.
Oh, that's right, because you're an absolute prick. That's right, because you got your hybrid and that in the same week, and then
Yes.
Eric Johnson turned up.
Yes. It gives the impression that I earn a fortune and I spend too much money on guitars. But I keep letting things go. You know, like I mean,
Like your sanity.
Yeah.
Your bank balance.
Yeah. But honestly, the bank balance has taken no hit whatsoever. I haven't
Good.
spent any money on guitars in a very long time.
That's a good thing. Like, I know that you're saying about the 8 strings going to be on the chopping block at some point.
Yes.
Just frees up money for a new guitar.
To be fair,
Levi's 1 in, 1 out when he's already got 45 guitars policy.
yeah. To be fair, the getting rid of the 8-string thing is a space thing. It seems silly to just have that sat there.
Especially after all the work that was done on it. It's such a cracking 8 string that could be getting used.
Yeah.
Especially since the inlay got fixed.
Yes.
Just saying.
Yeah. I'm never going to be an 8-string guy. So
Certainly not one that's named after a taxi.
Yeah. This is going to be fun to edit all these coughs out.
You're not going to edit them out. Leave them in.
Oh.
Know what you could do? Don't edit them out. Put a counter in.
A wee counter.
Aye.
Or
Levi's
like,
plague counter 1.
I could just switch out the cough sound for something else.
Farts.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be fabulous.
Right, get it done then.
Every time I do the cough, we'll just put a fart sound in. Nice. Okay, so we've got a couple of bits of fan mail to read this week. One from our good friend Yavor. So, Mike, do you want to take this away?
Oi lads, I hope this email finds both of you much better than well and enjoying life at its fullest, and if not, then at least getting there. This week better than last. Give you that one, Yavor. First off, I'd like to hear something you're excited about. Need not be music or guitar related, just speak a bit about something that puts you in a joyful mood. Aye. Free reign and all tangents welcome.
So, let's do that.
Right, okay. What's got me excited? Between the Buried and me brought out Colours 2, which is a big fucking exciter for me because I loved Colours.
Sure.
I only got the first chance to listen to it yesterday. I only had 3/4 of the album on. But as per, ridiculous. All I could think when I was listening to it is like, they've obviously put a lot of effort into production here as well because the guitars are heavy, but they're pretty fucking clear.
Sure.
The bass cuts through really nice. Tommy's vocals are ridiculous. And as usual, it's eclectic as shit. It jumps into all sorts of samba beats and shit. Outside of that, I got Nancy and Finlay some teddies from Build-A-Bear. Finlay got a Chase from Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
And Nancy got KK Slider from Animal Crossing, who she fancies because she's a weirdo furry. But the two of them are really excited. Nancy more so than Finlay. But, aye.
Making your loved ones happy. That's, yeah.
Wholesome content.
That is a good thing to be happy about.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm actually excited about.
Not dying.
Not dying. That is...
Your Eric Johnson Strat was the first thing you showed me when I came in.
Yeah, playing that a lot is kind of fun. I know what I said last week would still be consistent this week, which would be dogs. Dogs make me happy.
100%.
My dogs make me very happy.
Your dogs made me happy this morning when as soon as I came in the door they were accosting me.
Yeah, standard.
Aye.
Part of the course. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm really genuinely quite excited about. For me, it's always the same thing. It's both excitement and frustration, and that's time, like waiting. Not waiting, but knowing that good things happen after the passage of time. So, like the idea of being better on the piano, that's exciting, but that takes time.
But having that as your goal and knowing that there are steps and increments to get to that
Yes.
is healthy. And I don't imagine you're just thinking to yourself, I am shit at piano till I get to this stage. You'll be going, I'm going to learn this song and then I'll have this extra bit of knowledge, like a new chord or whatever. Not that you don't know the chords, but like getting used to playing it on the piano, get the muscle memory in.
Yeah.
And those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, aye, it's all about small steps.
Yeah.
The best way out is through. That is the wisest line I've ever heard, and it came from BoJack Horseman.
I'm sure I actually remember you saying that on the show before.
Aye. I love that, man. See, when people are talking about having a hard time and just being like, sometimes you just need to go on with it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Take your time to feel better. Take your time to acknowledge if you're feeling bad and get rid of any unhealthy thoughts. Look after yourself. Self-care is a really big thing. But ultimately, the best way out is through.
Sure.
Once you have leveled yourself up and stopped coughing, you'll get through things.
These aren't coughs, these are farts.
Oh, that's true, aye.
Yeah. So we won't do the second question, but we will do the PS.
Okay, PS, vote for the Tories. The power of Rees-Mogg compels you. Yavor, come on. I mean, don't get me wrong, he could be some sort of eternal warlord. He looks like an absolute fucking gremlin, doesn't he?
Yeah.
All he's missing is like a face in the back of his head, like Harry Potter. Fucking is it Severus Snape or whatever his name is?
I'm sure there
Voldemort?
probably is one.
Aye.
Yeah.
Behind that fucking ridiculous top hat.
Yeah, that freaky man. So thank you for that, Yavor. We are going to do Fred Anderson's question.
Sound. I have a morbid question, and maybe it would be interesting for the podcast. What should I do with my gear when I am gone? Do I just leave it to my family? I mean, they know it's important to me, and they might appreciate having something around. But having lost both my parents and my in-laws, nobody really saves big things. They just convert it to cash. I recently had an accident that I'm still recovering from. One of the things I thought about while I was recovering was, should I will my music stuff to someone else? Someone who will use it. I had a showbud in a box in the basement that I have not opened in a decade. Should I send that to Levi? What's a showbud?
It's a pedal steel.
Oh,
yeah.
I've 60s Vibroverb, a 64 D18 and 89 Clapton Strat, admittedly not super valuable, but a killer guitar. So what would you will to someone other than your family? I'll say right now, if I meet an untimely end, before I have an explicitly will of specific items, Levi can have my showbud and my estate will pay shipping. Is that legally binding?
I think so, yeah. I mean,
Fred, that's...
I don't know about like legally binding.
I just mean in case you're like, right, cough up, come on, estate.
Yeah.
I don't imagine you being like that, to be fair. Fred, stop talking about being ill. Stop talking about dying. I get that it's a morbid question, but you're going to be well, and we want to have you with us as long as possible. Please.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Great question.
It's a really cool question, actually. Have you had any personal experiences of anything like that?
What, as in like me dying and leaving things to people?
No, as in like things like musical items, musical instruments and items of importance being passed down through a will to either a direct family member or even being passed to someone else.
Like in my time, I've only really lost my granddad. Speaking from a perspective of someone that has any musical instruments, and he didn't have anything worth having, and I didn't play music when he died. So no, not so much. And now, obviously, I'm in a weird one because I don't really have a family. I don't really consider myself to have a family.
So, how fucking dare you?
But
you better consider me like a blood brother.
That's where we're going with this question.
Not for your will, by the way, because I care about you. Just so we're being clear here.
And I think that's the key thing for me when I answer this, Fred. It's like, for me, I don't. You're totally right about big things just being converted into cash, and I wouldn't want that for my stuff. No. So I would be making sure that my friends, who are my chosen family, would get my gear, get my guitars.
I'm going to send it all to Choppers. All of it.
I'm sure I have said on the podcast before that you'd get the my Vigier because it's my most prized guitar. And who better to give it to
than somebody that can't play it?
Than the person that killed me.
Thanks, mate. Well, yeah. I know we're laughing and stuff, but like, and it being a morbid thing, but I think humour's a really good way to get through hard times and kind of hard stories. It's a hard story now because the person who got the guitars actually passed away himself, very young. God rest you, Aidan. Young guy that I was friends with, was a couple of years younger than me, but really into music. And we used to go to a youth group or a youth club in like a drop-in centre when we were younger. And on Monday nights and on Friday nights they would have like a music club essentially, so bands could go and practice. Full PA system, amps, the lot. Just bring your guitars, your drumsticks, whatever. And wee Aidan was really into it. He played this, I don't even know what brand it was, like a Westone or something, I think. Right. Mockingbird. And it had like a cream humbucker in the bridge and a fake EMG in the bridge. And then he bought a Washburn, one of the first ones I've ever seen with Buzz Phaeton tuning on it. Anyway, Aidan was really into his music and stuff. When his granddad passed away, his granddad actually left him a really old antique Gretsch and a Vox AC30. And I remember Aidan talking about how he loved it, but it just was never the style that he would play.
Sure.
Because he was really into thrash. He loved Halloween and power metal and all that kind of stuff. So he was just like, I mean, they're brilliant. They're absolutely minted instruments, but I've only got them because they're my granddad's, and they remind me of him. Like, I don't really play them because I'm not going to get the sound I want out of like an AC30 and a Gretsch.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, young Aidan passed away quite young. God rest him.
See, it's the inevitable, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The more I think
Comes to us
about
all.
it, yeah, there you go. And this is why I don't get too deep into it, because I don't have a family, either family before me or family after me yet. The idea of like leaving things to people is a weird one, because there's no real reason to. Like, I have life insurance because I thought that would be a smart thing to have, but it also feels really weird to have life insurance because for who? You know? Oh, sweet, my mortgage will be paid off if I'm dead, if I die. Like, it just doesn't really matter. And because of that, because I don't have people to be leaving money to or stuff to, there's no real reason to be funny about possessions. Like, initially when I first moved to Wishaw and didn't have all that much to give to people, it would have been a guitar for each of my friends type thing. Whereas now I just look around and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool. If I die tomorrow, I'll make sure Melissa sends you my Ormsby, and you can have the Rev because it's got your face on it. And
why are you talking about giving me your things?
But because that's really the question, isn't it? It's like, well, what would you do with your stuff? Like, I wouldn't want to just have it sold and converted to cash and given to Melissa, because Melissa will be taken care of anyway because I've got a life insurance policy. So, you know, if I die, she'll get the house, and the house will all be paid off, and there'll be money left over. So, yeah, I think it's an interesting question, Fred, and I kind of like what you've talked about there, where you talk about like giving me something. I don't mean that I like it just because you're talking about giving me something, but just more from this perspective of like helping people or doing things that would be enjoyed by people that aren't necessarily your legal family is a nice thing to do. There's a bunch of people that I know from the internet that I would absolutely do my best to make sure they got something cool of mine. Like, you know, Connor's going to get something because Connor's a wee sweetie.
If you pass away and then Melissa moves away, Connor can have your house, and then at least that way he stays in Wishaw now. Connor.
That feels like the worst. It's like some sort of weird horror film haunted house type thing.
I suppose being asked to move to Colkness is probably more of a punishment.
Yeah. You get the house, but the only way you get to keep, like a Brewster's Millions type thing, you get to the house, but you have to live in the house. If you want to move out of the house or sell the house or anything like that, you lose the house immediately. So, ha, Connor, you're stuck living here.
If you ever turn the Sonos off from playing Symphony X on loop, you have to move out.
Yeah.
And it's 24/7, even when you're sleeping, full blast.
Just constant Symphony X. I'm all right. I'm okay with that.
Forever.
Okay, so let's do some...
Thanks for the fan mail, Trips.
Guitar stories.
Fred, Yavor, you beautiful people. Sorry, Levi, on you go.
Send us fan mail to GsolesFanMail at
gmail.com.
There we go. GsolesFanMail at gmail.com.
So close, we finish each other's sandwiches.
On with this story.
You prick. Right, okay.
Yeah, go on.
Nearly a third of new gear is bought by church players, according to Fender, which was written by Mark Parker 4 days ago on GuitarWorld.com.
I have to say I'm sceptical.
I don't know as much, man. I'm not going to go any further, but if they're talking about American sales, given it's talking about dollars, think about the money that must get pumped into those mega churches.
Yeah.
The budget for those kind of things.
Well, it wouldn't...
Considering it is just a big show.
It wouldn't be the churches that would be buying the instruments, though, would it? It would be...
Well, maybe not the guitars, but certainly everything else.
Sure.
And you would be surprised, a lot of churches do buy instruments, so they've got them for them to just come and play. When I worked at Magnum, we did a few installs for churches.
Sure.
And quite a few of the times they would buy like amplifiers and guitars, and then the full drum kit and whatever. So they've just got like essentially a full backline.
Yeah. If
they're doing something. And
it's easy to do when you don't pay tax. So
everything is a tax deductible, isn't it? Yeah. They don't even. Well, they'll probably even get like money back as a relief then, because they don't have to pay tax anyway.
Yeah.
Smart boy, this boy, isn't he? So church bands and makers of praise and worship, aka P&W music, account for roughly a third of all new instrument and audio equipment sales, according to research from Fender. I think the big part there will be the audio equipment sales, because the money that goes into the installs in those places is wild. And in the last 2 years, it's not just been the audio. There's been streaming services set up inside churches and multicam setups, and then you've got a full box that you need to load everything into, that then needs to go to a desk to be mixed, and then it needs to go through something to process whatever rack mount or digital system you've got to then be broadcast.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money going into that, and a lot of wiring, a lot of work, and a lot of know-how and expertise. It's not much of a stretch to say that most guitarists will either have played with a church band or know a musician with a background in P&W music. However, now the true scale of the P&W market has been brought to light thanks to some research by Fender. Ultimate Guitar cites a Fender calculation that approximately around $600 million, or around 30% of the estimated $1.5 to $2 billion spent on music making gear each year in the US, comes from players or organisations involved in P&W music. In the same piece, Matt Watts, Fender VP of Marketing, comments, "At Fender, we've recognised the importance of P&W for quite some time now. Given our mission to support artists at every level and on every stage, we're determined to serve as a major supporter to the worship community. We've learned that nearly a third of all instruments sold are used in the worship setting, and there is no doubt that worship leaders and music directors are a source of musical inspiration for so many players."
So I have to jump in on that one. He's more specific there. He does say a third of all instruments sold. Which, yeah.
I also think that could be very true. Because they're maybe not saying that necessarily it's the church that's buying them, but used for worship.
Sure.
How many house and religious bands are there going to be across America?
I certainly know it to be a bigger sector of the industry than
Country Plus?
Than I would initially expect it to be, because people are constantly asking for product on worship guitar, which obviously doesn't make any sense to me, because it's like, do you play chords differently when you're praising? Are they different chords?
Maybe.
The answer is no, they are not. It's
everything is the same.
Yeah, arm yourself with the tools, and you'll be able to play anything. Yeah, I mean, we don't need to go too much further into this one. I just thought it was worth reporting on.
It's a cool one. It's really interesting.
No matter how skeptical I am about it.
Of course, but then I think being skeptical, you can't really make any definitive statements to it, given that it's such a massive market.
That's the interesting thing, though, isn't it? It's like, sure, it is a massive market, but at the same time, religion in general is on the decline. Or at least that's my understanding of stats. So,
maybe globally,
yeah.
But we're talking about the US and probably the places where they have, as I say, the mega churches and like the Bible Belt and such a concentrated, big, crazy, I don't even know, like all-encompassing. Sure. I don't want to say genre, because I don't know if P&W really has a genre. Probably more a style of music. Praise and worship could be any kind of music genre.
I know, which is what, but it is very much a genre. Like there's books and videos on it as a specific subject.
Yep.
And yeah, obviously a difficult one for us to talk about because we just don't know. So, but I thought worth bringing up. So,
it was cool. It's definitely interesting. It'd be interesting to see if anything else comes from it.
Yeah.
In fact, tell you what, I'm going to put this out here for anybody that's an active musician in the US. Let us know. And we've obviously got a few friends out there who are active in the circuits, whether that's at trade shows or out actually doing gigs and stuff. Like, what's your experience been with people who've got P&W gigs or even bands or whatever? Do they usually turn up with a bare minimum, or do you often see that they have everything and anything at their disposal? And have you any experience yourself of even churches buying your equipment to do gigs or anything like that? I'd be really interested to hear actual stories from people.
Well, I'm going to throw some details at us now. And obviously I'm being light-hearted because this doesn't work. But what this should say to us is that white men aren't really playing music anymore. Because was it Fender that did the research to say that more than 50% of all instruments now are purchased by women? I remember we covered that. I might not have been Fender, but we certainly covered the statistic.
I think it was Fender, because they've quite a few times spoken about their sales throughout the lockdown and pandemic situation.
Yeah, so more than 50% of instruments are bought by women and 30% are P&W. Okay, let's move on. Let's just briefly talk about Herman Li sharing his colorific new PRS signature guitar.
I actually quite like this. I mean, I don't know how much I'm into the single coil that doesn't fit the aesthetic or a gold bridge. Otherwise, that's quite a nice guitar.
Let's bring it out for people.
Like, for anyone that doesn't know, just go look up the Herman Li PRS. I dare say this will be on one of his social media posts.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of purple lilac Violet Burst. It's a wee bit like the Dragon Burst, but lighter.
Yeah, it's a really weird.
I like the difference in the horns. I think PRS have went a wee bit more super strat than their usual double cut, because that top horn's obviously much higher and a lesser cut.
Yeah,
but that's nice. I actually really like that. You know whose PRS I fucking love?
Go on.
Dusty Warings from Between the Buried and Me.
Oh, okay.
Joel Humbuckers, Floyd Rose.
Yeah.
24 frets. I think it was the first one like that was a signature.
I find Herman to be a really interesting, subject of conversation for this, and we certainly talked about him when he was shopping around for a new brand to play with.
We also spoke about him when he decided he was going to cover his guitar in fucking surfboards and swim about in a pool on a boat.
Yeah.
And not play good. But I mean, it's entertainment, isn't it?
But this is the point. It's like, to me, Herman Li has never been less relevant. But that's not true because of his Twitch.
I was going to say that, like, in terms of Dragon Force aren't massive on the road at the moment. No band is because of the last 2 years. But like his Twitch is huge. I think he also had a big part to play in the situation with the fundraising for Jason Becker.
Yeah.
And he seemed to bring a lot of people on board.
Yeah.
There's the videos of him jamming Fire in the Flames with Tim Henson and fucking Tosin.
Yeah.
And loads of mad shit.
Because when he left Ibanez, I kind of speculated, and it kind of falls in line with the Dean stuff that we were talking about and Dimebag and things like that. It's just like, I can't see Herman being a big draw for many brands. But then you have to remember how big and popular he is on Twitch. You would think that maybe he must be a big draw for a brand.
I would think not just that. How long did he have a signature with Ibanez that he then stepped away from?
Must have been 15 years.
Exactly. So it's not like he's not a common name.
But I guess that's where the speculation comes in. Like, certainly at the time when he left Ibanez, in my mind it's never a question of it's the details of, have you left a company, or has the company decided they don't want to produce your product anymore because it doesn't sell like it used to, essentially putting you in a position where you have to leave. Because I'm of the opinion that's what happened with Michelangelo Bat,
I mean, it's got to be speculation, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got to be. I tell you what is interesting to me, I know this is kind of going on a tangent, right? But Herman Li's always got this, like, kind of cult following in terms of his signature guitar. Sam Topman's signature was much nicer.
Yes.
The double humbucker Floyd Rose's Iceman was much nicer. Like, just because it's a fucking cool guitar. Yeah. But, like, you don't even see that name anymore.
No. He hasn't been smart on the Twitch front.
Nope.
Okay, look, from a disgusting guitar to I'm teasing. It's not that bad, actually.
It's actually really nice.
It's not as bad as I expected it to be. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Harley Benton releasing the new Runner Fusion 3 guitars.
I am choking to get my hands on one of these Harley Benton Fusions. We've spoke about these a few times now, and everybody I know who's either got one or played one, I believe Connor's got one.
Has he?
Did Connor tell me he had one? Maybe I'm talking shite. But everyone that has played one hands-on and told me they've had their hands on it has said, wow, for the money, something else. And we did say it ourselves, man. It's essentially anywhere, like, you look at this and you go, right, cool, Harley Benton has tried to make a sewer and an Ibanez AZ at the same time. Or any number of boutique Superstrat, Tom Anderson, whatever. Like, but on a really conservative budget for the amount of guitar you get. Yeah. So, in the words of Harley Benton, what does it say at the top there? Something about reigning supreme. Where performance, playability, and versatility reign supreme.
Yeah.
Here.
Have you seen the prices on it?
No.
Yeah, so...
I've not even seen the spec, so let's have a quick read through. 3 new Fusion 3 models all feature a Sapelli body, maple flamed veneer top, Canadian maple neck, and Macassar ebony fretboard and Roswell pickups. Only thing there that you would think maybe need to be upgraded is the Roswell pickups. Everything else sounds like it's solid equipment, solid parts at least.
What price would you put on these?
Floyd was $1,000 on it, HSH. It's got a Wilkinson trem, stainless steel frets, locking tuners, $350.
Yeah, it's less than that actually.
What?
Yeah, 300.
2.9. Really, that is. If you're looking for something you can throw about and have a fairly versatile guitar that sits for just noodling with, if you're somebody that maybe works away or whatever, that's silly cheap.
Yeah, that's like this guitar in particular, the
Bengal Burst or
HSH
whatever.
the Bengal Burst.
It's Bengal Burst, what I guess.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be that because it looks exactly like the sewers that come in Bengal Burst.
That's just a stunner, absolute stunner.
The headstock is the part that leaves much to be desired in my mind, but outside of that, it wouldn't bother me. That is a cracking
For
guitar.
that price, I mean, whew.
Absolutely. Right, if anybody's got hookups in Tolman, send us a Harley Benton for hee-haw and we'll smash it outside and review it.
Yeah,
We won't smash it, we'll review it.
Oh, sorry. Oh, Jesus Christ!
Oh.
The Bengal Burst one is 256.
Wow.
That's a hell of a price.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Good on you, Harley Benton. I mean, that's...
Can't lie though. Like, sure, we're getting excited about these and saying these look really great.
I'm never going to have one unless I go out and buy one. I'm not bothered. I'm happy with my arms piece, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's nice to be excited about genuinely accessible, cool equipment.
I just can't see this. Like, 256 is ridiculously cheap.
Mm-hmm.
I think at best you're hoping when you get one of these and play one of these, it's going to play like a £400 guitar.
Even at that, you'd be happy?
You would, but we wouldn't because of the gear that we have, you know?
You know what? See if you got one of these and you took it to somebody who was good at doing setups, I reckon you would be really happy with it.
Yes.
Because you've got the reliability of good hardware.
Yeah.
You might want to change the pickups, which is no different to when you used to buy the kind of lower end Ibanez's.
Mm-hmm.
New pickups, maybe a change of the machine heads, and you had essentially all the guitar you would need. I think Harley Benton have kind of hit that in the head as well.
So this was sent to us by our good friend Chris Locke.
Nice. Motley Crue's Vince Neil getting in shape with revolutionary fat burning and muscle building device.
I think Chris grabbed this just because of the photo.
There's an awful shape to that business model, isn't there? Wee triangle. Is that a pyramid scheme?
I think Chris just wanted the picture.
It's a classic, but I'm just can't believe he's that ripped now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, whatever he's using's working.
Maybe it kickstarts his heart.
See what he did there.
Did you get that device for Dr. Feelgood?
Yeah.
He just wants to be ripped for all the girls.
I mean, it's just yeah.
Tommy Lee's got the biggest cock in the band, though. Sorry, Vince.
Yeah, I don't think girls are interested in him now.
No.
He's shorter of breath than I am. So, come on then, give us this.
He's like the hand dryer in your local pub. Motley Crue singer Vince Neil is now under immense scrutiny regarding his extremely poor physical condition, which means he's under immense pressure to get in shape for the Crue reunion tour, which may or may not actually happen next summer, depending on how many of us are alive after the latest round of COVID and climate change disasters.
Fair point.
That's actually some good writing for Metal Sucks, so credit to them. That's actually not too bad. Axl Rosenberg. Feels as if like they get quite a lot of press for us. The tour, of course, was originally scheduled to take place last summer before being rescheduled for this summer and then kicked back another year. Neil has promised to get in fighting shape from the get-go, and at one point seemed to be attempting to do that the good old-fashioned way by physical exercise, and hopefully a diet. Get some of that skinny powder up your nose. Vince, I'm sure you've had that before. Given Neil's appearance at recent solo outings, though, that clearly didn't happen, so now Neil is turning to science for help. And by science, I mean what sounds to my cynical ears like an expensive shortcut with no guaranteed results at best, and a scam at worst. Just saying. Specifically, Neil has revealed that he's using something called the M-Sculpt Neo, which describes itself as a revolutionary, non-invasive fat-burning and muscle-building device that helps trim, strengthen, define, lift and tone your body with incredible ease. It combines high-intensity focused electromagnetic energy with radio frequency energy to build muscle and reduce fat simultaneously. And its creators claim that 1.5-hour treatments can help you achieve your dream body without sacrificing your lifestyle. Because who has time to spend hours at the gym? Yup, seems on the up and up to me. I'm not going to lie, like, I have to be very much in line with what Axel's saying.
It's, yeah.
Scroll up so we can read the rest of it, because I think they're talking about the prices there, aren't they?
Oh, we don't want the prices. We don't want to sell this thing for
But I want to laugh at the prices because they look fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, okay.
In case you're curious, the price for this procedure, not the device, the procedure, varies somewhat depending on where you go, but it looks to roughly be $3,500 for 4 sessions, which is the recommended number of times you let them do this to you. I don't believe it for a second. And then they also say that you will get results for 6 to 12 months, potentially less, if you don't change your health and lifestyle. So, like, this is just like non-invasive lipo. Yeah, that just in case.
Yeah.
I think the main concern is look at his face, man.
It's whoo boy.
You're getting strong.
Yep. Traditionally speaking, chemo has been an effective weight loss method. So
I'm going to message Skull Neo and I'm going to say, right, tell you what, bring me on for free and we'll see what happens.
So
Get rid of my big fat belly, make me a muscular beast, and all the while I'm going to be eating toffee. All the while.
that's a very specific thing to be.
I am a slut for toffee. Just saying it. Ferrero Rocher as well.
Okay, so let's just briefly mention the fucking Black Label Society.
This is so good, man. So, we spoke about this last week.
Yes.
But I hadn't heard it, and because we did it remote and Levi wasn't feeling too well, we were trying to get through the episode fairly quick. So rather than like me listen to it while we're talking, I kind of missed out on it, but Levi just gave me a description of it. However, now that I'm here today, we've got it on, and despite these being the fuggliest guitars on earth, I really like this track. You're not so fussed on it.
Yeah, I'm not crazy on it. Well,
in my mind, it's very cayus.
Yeah,
it's
it
very,
doesn't sound like Black Label Society.
No, it doesn't. You're right. It's kind of
very
way more stoner
grunge. Yeah,
it's cool, man. It's kind of Alice in Chains, even the vocals, even like the harmonies in the vocals too.
Yeah, it's
I really like it. I think it's a cool track.
If you're a Black Label Society fan, maybe check it out. Actually, if you're not a
if you're not a Black Label fan, check it out. In fact, just check it out in general.
If you're not a Black Label fan, you might enjoy this.
I think if you're a Black Label fan, you'll enjoy it. I like Black Label and I like it. I know when we were talking about it last week, the comparison was that it's kind of like Stillborn. Not really. It's slower than that, and it's way more kind of, just say, doom kind of fuzz laden. The guitar tone's a lot thicker than what you're used to with Zach, and I don't mean like thicker as in like, I don't know how to describe it. Like usually he's got a lot of gain, but it's still fairly focused with a big sound. It's a bit more fuzzy. Aye, that kind of traditional stoner rock, more fuzz pedals than distortions, kind of thing. Like diode clipping rather than valve amps pushing their arse off and all.
Should we jump away?
It's cool, man. It's really good.
From guitar.
Sure. Oh, ABBA announced new album, Voyage, released 2 new songs and confirmed Avatar concert plans. Avatar concert plans?
Yeah.
Swedish superstars return with new material and tech-powered gigs. Okay then, ABBA, one of the biggest pop bands of all time, have confirmed that their long-awaited new album, Voyage, will be released on the 5th of November, today. That's a lie, in September, 2 months away, and contain 10 new songs. Ahead of the release, the band have unveiled 2 new singles, I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down, both of which are available to stream now. Ironic that they would be titles you could probably accrue to things you would say to your animatronic ABBA band, or they would say back to you, please don't shut me down, Waterloo, Waterloo. Sorry, that was really terrible. Although the band won't be uniting on stage in the traditional sense, they've also set sail on the ABBA Voyage, a virtual concert experience that will see their avatars, or avatars, as everyone will probably be calling them.
Blech.
Music Radar, 10 for effort, 1 for execution. Accompanied by a 10-piece live band in a custom-built arena at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London. I tell you, that will probably be a fucking ridiculous gig, despite the fact it's not really them. This will take place in
the
spring.
idea of like having a live band, but without live appearances from the
actual band.
Yeah.
The live backing band.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, it's not too different to when they've like hollowed in Tupac or Michael Jackson at gigs.
Sure.
Except ABBA are still alive.
Yeah. In this scenario, they're just lazy.
It's kind of like Fleetwood Mac having a reunion because they don't want Lindsey Buckingham there, just kind of bringing him on stage digitally. Isn't it?
Yeah.
This will take place in spring 2022, and you can register for early ticket access on the ABBA Voyage website. How much are tickets? There's the question. Or is it just like you could be in the selecting to maybe get it? Fucking hell, man, look at them. Here, bring the website up and put that back to that page, because I think these are like, they're digital renders.
Yeah.
But they're fucking good. Wow. ABBA reinvented Westworld. Right, come on, tell us how much it's got to be. Priority access is now closed. Right, no word on prices, sadly.
More than we're willing to pay, I would.
Oh, 100 to not see the band live, I absolutely.
Yeah. Saying which, I mean, I did tell you this via message, but I did get Devon Townsend tickets
Yes, he
for
did.
Glasgow. So
Heavy Davy.
four tickets. I'll be there.
I'll hopefully be there.
Melissa will be there. And
Should be there.
imagine coming up with a reason why you couldn't go see Devon Townsend.
I wouldn't have a reason or like an excuse. I will have a reason if I don't make it.
Yeah.
When would I miss Devon Townsend willingly?
Exactly. So
Levi.
safe to say we're not interested in this ABBA tour.
Nah. There's also one thing we're going to speak about that I'm definitely not interested in, and that is giving money to Gibson for their nonsense rally thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought, is that an alright wee segue for you? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Moving
Could
away
do with
to
a bit of
Corker?
work, but
Okay. Right. Own your share of sound. Gibson has partnered with Rally, a platform for investing in rare collectible assets, to give you an opportunity to own a piece of history. 3 artist prototype guitars from the Gibson Vault. Before you go any further, you're like, okay, investment. What do I get for my investment? Because when you invest in things, you get bonds, or you get dividends, or you have a share in an item
Yeah.
and access to it, or like if you have a timeshare, for example, if it's a property, then you get your allotted, corresponding with the money you've given, access to it.
Yeah.
These unique Gibson guitars, each handcrafted by the world-renowned Gibson Custom Shop in Nashville, are coming soon, including the Slash 1966 EDS 1275 double neck, rolls off the tongue, the Tony Iommi Monkey 64 SG Special Replica, and the Adam Jones 79 Les Paul Custom, aged and signed Silverburst. Each guitar is a one-of-a-kind official artist-approved prototype, saved by Gibson, making it the most special guitar in these limited edition runs. That's in your description. So, now available on Rally, the Slash double neck prototype. The iconic guitarist from Guns N' Roses first picked up a Gibson blah 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 from the small music store in Indiana ahead of the band's worldwide Use Your Illusion tour, and it quickly became an integral part of his rig. In 2019, Gibson produced 125 hand-signed replicas of the iconic guitar. Slash is the prototype guitar sent to Slash for his approval before the series went into production. The prototype instrument is initially offered at a valuation of $65,000.
Ooh.
Is that right? And you can own your piece of it for as little as $5 a share, only on Rally. That's great. How much of that would I own?
An insignificant amount.
Way less than 1%. Okay, no bother. So Rally's a platform for buying and selling equity shares in collectible assets, as Levi's got up on screen. You can see it together with Rally to make investing behind ideas, emotions and communities safe, easy and accessible. What they don't tell you is you get fuck all access to the guitars for your investment.
Yeah.
So what's that, Gibson? You want me to give you money for guitars that I will have no genuine stake in? I can't go and see it. I can't touch it. I have nothing physical to show that I have a stake in it, and it's going to be kept in your hermetically sealed vault forever? Fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck the fuck off. You don't need the money, and you are essentially trying to make an NFT of an actual FT.
That's the thing I find really interesting about this. If you don't have access to the item, what's to say the item never existed?
It is, by all means, a non-fungible token that you're investing in, but it's not one person owns it.
Would there, because obviously you can buy and sell your shares, your assets, would there be a way that somebody could own a majority in this guitar and then just go to Gibson and be like, right, I want it. It's mine.
If the world is fair, then yes.
Yeah.
The world is not fair.
Yeah, I just think there's a really kind of sad way of feeling like you're involved in something.
It's like crowdfunding a stake in an asset. Fine if you're doing it as a small group of people that you trust each other and you can all put an equal stake in and whatever else, but you don't know who else owns shares in that. How many shares have actually been sold?
How many pedos own shares?
That took the wind right at my sails, man. I don't know what to say to that.
I know. I think
How often am I speechless?
As a gift, I think I might get Rally for iPhone and I might buy you $5 of this guitar.
I will wipe my arse with the iPhone.
Yeah. Then you can say that you own well, you could say you own a Gibson.
Oh, I own 2 actually, but they're not real.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I bought a second Gibson.
Yeah.
Didn't tell anyone that yet.
So I imagine these will, they'll probably play better than this one.
Well, they will actually be in my hands. I will have
Yeah.
access to them.
That is
Even with no hardware, they play better than that one because I will never, ever be able to set my hands on that, even if I buy
Yeah.
shares.
So, okay, let's move on to the main story.
Yes. Baby on Nevermind cover sues Nirvana over child sexual exploitation. And last week we had a good conversation about this, even though you were pretty unwell,
Yeah.
because there is so much surrounding this.
Yes.
And obviously with an extra week of everybody posting about it and everything else going on, and the consistent memes that have come from it. Because without jumping the gun or judging the guy, he's went all these years leaning into it, doing photo shoots, recreating it as an adult.
Yeah.
5 or 6 times for like, was it NME?
He has Nevermind tattooed on his chest.
Exactly. Like the guy he's weighed into it to then now decide, well, actually it's child porn and you owe me money. $150,000 from each of the at least from each of the 15 people that have been named in the case.
Yeah.
You're just a greedy bastard at that point. There's no reason for it. The album, I can't imagine it's even grossed that amount in profit for the record label.
I just think there's better ways to make your claim than this. I feel what he has done here is jumped on and even exploited the nature of child pornography as being what's the word I'm looking for? An emotional subject. Because there are people that have been actual victims of child pornography, and you, Spencer, are not doing anything to help these people. This is not for anyone else other than yourself. Because in order for you to have a case here, a judge is going to have to look at this and go, fuck, how has nobody in the last 30 years noticed this? How has nobody seen this? This is clearly child pornography. Well, I mentioned this on the podcast last week, and if I was more prepared, I would have actually prepared with this and given you some examples. But there are numerous examples of children appearing naked in things. It happens because it's inherently a less sexual concept to see a newborn baby than it is to see an 18-year-old. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm sure if you go on like 3 Men and a Baby.
You've got some weird websites you go to, man.
I'm sure there's
is that on tour?
I'm sure there's 3 full frontal in and it feels weird to describe it as full frontal. Yeah.
It's kind of like Look Who's Talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you're
Yeah.
right. Aye, sorry.
It feels weird to even just use the word full frontal nudity because it's just not. It's not the same thing.
Mhm.
And Spencer knows that. He just absolutely knows that. He will have used this to... His dick will have been sucked more in his life because of his appearance on that album cover.
As long as it didn't happen when he was that age.
Exactly. And it simply wouldn't have. So I feel the jumping on the child pornography side of things is really just a way to get as much traction as possible. We know why he did what he did here. He had an art exhibit that he was trying to get the band involved in. They didn't want to play any part in it. They didn't want to be involved in him making money for himself in any way, shape or form. That upset him. So now he's lashing out.
Here's the gist of it. A photographer took the photo. His mother gave permission. She was supposedly paid $250. That one's been speculated on. However, she gave permission for that photographer to take that photo.
Yep.
He then owned the rights to that photo.
Yep.
He sold it to Nirvana.
Yep.
Nirvana used it on the album. And since then, maybe there has been internal conflict, but he's certainly not made any waves over this being a problem for him.
Yes.
To then decide, and to be very straightforward, I believe that people can revoke consent.
Sure.
This isn't revoking consent. He's not said I want this taken off. I want no longer for these to be pressings or whatever for this to be put out because it is child porn. What he's saying is I want compensated for the fact that I appeared naked on an album cover.
Yeah. It's
not really child porn if you're not bothered about having it censored and removed. If you're willing for that to be perpetuated and your real problem is that it's child porn, then you are a child porn star and you are perpetuating child porn. Is that not a fair comment? If you consider this child porn and you're happy to make money off it,
yep,
you are a child porn star.
Well, there has been examples of him distributing this, right? Getting copies of this.
He's done at
blown
least
up.
6 versions of this as an adult.
Yeah, but his penis
Or
didn't
grown up.
appear in those. But
Not really the point.
the point very much is he has distributed this image over time. He has sold signed copies of this image, etc. And in doing so, you know, if we now have to acknowledge that this is child pornography, then he needs to acknowledge that he has been not just a creator of
Distributor
child
as well.
but a distributor of child pornography,
Which
and
is the more serious of the two, I believe.
And it's just not, is it? It's just clearly just not child porn.
I mean, I think there's definitely a grey area when it comes to legality, not morality, when it comes to child nudity. And I believe that this falls on like the fine side. This is art. It's clearly art. There is no context to this, which is look at this child's naked body.
Sure.
It's meant to be a newborn child having a swim towards $1, and the symbolism of it is Nirvana selling out.
Yeah.
Was the kind of in joke, or potentially that we are born
chasing
to
money.
chase money. Like it's artistic.
Absolutely.
I don't think anything that Kurt ever put his name to wasn't artistic in some way, even if it was mental. So I just don't buy into it, man. I think it's as horrible as this is to say, because it's not my. Maybe we don't know all the details.
Sure.
Too little, too late to then decide. Nah, this isn't good enough, and I want $150,000 at least for 15 people to make up for it.
I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk about this again, actually, because there were definitely things that I wanted to kind of like. This must be mind-numbingly frustrating for someone like Dave Grohl to be dealing with right now.
Chris Novoselic's been leaning right into it and posting memes all over his fucking Instagram. Brilliant, man. Like, never mind with the baby photoshopped out, or him as an adult with giant wads of money.
Yeah,
belter.
This just must be like the easiest thing for Dave would just be to pay the guy, right? Because he's not gonna notice the money, and I'm sure he doesn't want to be embroiled in.
But it's not about the money at all.
Sure.
I think the reason he's picked 15 different people in such, I don't want to say a small amount, $150,000 is not a small amount, especially considering he's saying at least $150,000 from each.
Yeah.
It's not a small amount of money, and it all adds up. But I think he's, rather than going for the photographer, who, if he has got any stake in the case of I'm not happy that this was distributed without, like, I don't know, like royalties or whatever, to make up for the fact that this is now a super popular image and I've not been compensated, and my family haven't been compensated. In
a way that I deem adequate.
Yeah, right, a way that I deem adequate. So, like, in their own levels of fairness. But I just don't think there's a case to really be made. I don't, and I think the fact that he's went for 15 separate people at that amount, he's thought a lot of them will settle out.
Yeah. He also, I don't feel he can make any argument for embarrassment or anything like that, because you as a 4-month-old are not you as a 30-year-old. You know, like, I'll be honest, I could right now, if I wanted to, click my fingers and have nudes posted of me on screen as a 32-year-old man. But I wouldn't do that because that would be deeply embarrassing. But if pictures of me as a fucking 4-month-old in the bath were online,
you would have a laugh about it.
It wouldn't.
There's me as a baby.
Yeah. It's like
some people might get embarrassed, but I think he's ruined his credentials of saying, or credentials. Sorry,
I like credentials.
Credentials. So he's ruined any stake he has in saying that he is embarrassed by consistently leaning into it, and trying to make money on it and monopolising on it.
Yeah. While I have seen Spencer Eldon's cock, I don't really feel I've seen Spencer Eldon's actual cock, you know?
Yes. You saw the precursor to his adult penis?
Yes.
You pedo. Right, well, we give this a wee read, because there's a couple of points in here we've not really covered. We did last week, obviously, so you and I are not new to this conversation. So that we took this off The Guardian because it's such a big, major news outlet in the UK. We felt that the story itself kind of gave it justice and gave it a good angle to go from. It's a bit more serious and a bit more to the fact, more journalistic rigour. Spencer Eldon, who appeared as a naked baby on one of rock music's most iconic album covers, Nevermind by Nirvana, is suing the band, claiming he was sexually exploited as a child. In a lawsuit filed by the Californian District Court against numerous parties, including the surviving members of the band, Kurt Cobain's widow, Courtney Love, and the record labels that released and distributed the album in the last 3 decades, Eldon alleges the defendants produced a child sexual abuse image with the photo, which features him swimming naked towards a dollar bill with his genitalia visible.
I just have to keep jumping on that point, like, a child sexual abuse image. How is this child being sexually abused in this image?
It's not a sexual image at all, other than the fact there's nudity in it.
His penis exists, therefore he's being abused. Like, come on.
I mean, if that is the case, then almost every adult certainly in Scotland, that's got pictures of their children for when they're younger, has produced child porn.
Yeah.
As you were saying, context makes a big difference.
Yeah. It's a rite of passage, isn't it? Having your teenage girlfriend sat down and having your parents show them pictures of you in the bath as a child.
Aye, because look, it was bigger then. The lawsuit accuses the defendants of commercial child sexual exploitation of him from while he was a minor to the present day. Defendants knowingly produced, possessed and advertised commercial child pornography depicting Spencer. Commercial child pornography is a terminology that this has been made up for this case, and probably won't set any legal precedent in a positive manner. I think you'll find that a lot of the legal experts will go, there's no such thing as commercial child pornography, because commercial would then mean that like it's been deemed okay and that we are legally allowing people to make money on it. If it's child pornography, then we wouldn't legally allow anyone to make money on it. Eldon, who was 4 months old when the image was made, says he suffered lifelong damages from the 1991 album cover, including extreme and permanent emotional distress with physical manifestations, plus loss of education, wages and enjoyment of life.
Loss of education potentially because throughout your entire time in college you would have been getting your dick sucked rather than actually doing any fucking work.
Aye, that's it. I could
And
never
that's 'cause
concentrate
you
from
were
all the
on the
bitches on
cover
my
of
dick.
fucking Nirvana's Nevermind.
Potentially the most famous child on earth.
Yeah.
Potentially. Other than the wee lassie that was on...
Matilda.
Oh, I was actually going to say it was the wee lassie that was on the cover of Time with the big blue eyes.
Yeah.
The Syrian wee lassie, I think she was Syrian, maybe? You'll know the image I'm on about, super famous. Anyway, the lawsuit claims the image is sexually graphic and it makes Eldon resemble a sex worker grabbing for a dollar bill. That is quite the reach.
It's
Pun
also, I
intended.
also think it's quite offensive to sex workers, surely.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like...
Sex work is real work, and
I'm a
no
young-
one is grabbing at money.
I'm a person swimming towards money. By stating that, he's acknowledging the satirical point that the art is trying to express.
Mm-hmm.
But
not quite getting that point.
Yeah, a sex worker grabbing for a dollar bill.
I'm not going to lie, considering how prevalent OnlyFans and stuff is, I don't think there's any sex worker out there that's grabbing for dollar bills. I think the best way to put it is the people who access the content are willingly throwing money.
Yeah, I
at
was
them.
going to say, it's more a case of like people covering their eyes as dollar bills get thrown relentlessly at them.
It is a business at the end of the day, and it takes two parties for that business to work. Fiat has to be exchanged for goods or services. Without a buyer, there's no seller.
Yeah.
Without a market for it, there's no product.
Yeah.
Sorry, sex work is legit.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Spencer's argument in this particular example, you could literally just Photoshop his dick out of this image and it would still say everything that needed to be said.
100%.
So the cock isn't the product.
And I think
the cock was just the star, and
it was just in Nirvana's own way, something being raw and visceral and truthful and honest and upfront and natural. I think it's probably a good way to put it. They were never a band that were really bothered about anything that wasn't face value.
Yeah.
It claims Eldon was never paid for appearing on the cover, and that his parents never signed the release form for the image, which was shot specifically for the album cover. It's previously been reported Eldon was paid $250. Eldon is seeking damages of at least $150,000 from each of the 15 defendants, plus costs, and asks that the case be tried with a jury. The defendants have not yet responded to the lawsuit or commented on it publicly. The Guardian has contacted the managers of the Nirvana estate for further comment.
I have to say on this one, demanding a jury trial is possibly the worst thing that he could do for this. His only fucking hope of winning this is not having a jury of your peers deciding this. It's hoping that you get a judge, an old judge, who just makes one bad decision, you know?
An old mad curmudgeon.
You are not going to convince a jury of your peers.
I've got an awful feeling that the legal team behind this are probably the pushing force. I think they've been and said to him, here's what we could be doing. You should be making a lot more money on this. So Eldon's legal team, Martial Law, said in a statement, and this is where I'm getting this from, this is an issue of consent, something that our client never had the opportunity to give. Fair. But his parents had the opportunity to give consent, which they did.
Yeah.
To the photographer, who then owned the rights to the image, who then sold it or gave it to Nirvana.
Yeah.
End of discussion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Has Finley had his Jags?
Which Jags?
Any of them?
Oh, he obviously got his boosters and stuff when he was younger, yeah.
Sure.
He couldn't consent, obviously, because he doesn't speak. So Nancy and I made consent, and so did his dad.
Sure.
As that's what you do as a legal parent or guardian.
Yes. So, but Finley didn't have the opportunity to give consent. So there will come a point in his life where I will expect him to sue you.
I hope so, man. I hope Finley grows up an anti-vaxxer. That would be some laugh. I would love that.
Yeah.
Mike, I don't want to get the medicine. What if it makes me an alien? That's how you sound, by the way. That's how you sound. You know who I'm talking about. In 2016, Eldon recreated the image with the New York Post. There you go, you know what I mean? Such a major publication. And he remakes it with them happily.
Yeah.
For the album's 25th anniversary. For the album's 25th anniversary, not for his own cause or like celebrating his own landmark.
Yeah.
For the album.
Was the photographer recompensated when he did this? Was the band paid when Eldon recreated this? No. He will have recreated this and he will have pocketed all of the money for doing so, which feels like initially that his argument is that's what was unfair about this in the first place.
So there's a couple of statements in here that are a bit weird. So in 2016 when he was doing it, he said, "It's cool but weird to be part of something so important that I don't even remember." That year he also said, "Recently I've been thinking, what if it wasn't okay with my freaking penis being shown to everybody? I didn't really have a choice." He'd previously recreated the image for Rolling Stone at age 10. In 2007, he told the Sunday Times, "It was kind of creepy that many people have seen me naked. I feel like the world's biggest porn star." It's not that big, mate, sorry. Robert Fisher, who designed
Also
the cover,
just not born.
said the image was inspired by Kurt Cobain seeing a documentary about babies being born underwater. He thought the image would make a cool cover. That vision was a bit too graphic. So we went with the swimming baby instead. It's seen by many fans as a comic image that satirically suggests the band, who had signed to a major label for the album, are grasping for money. Kirk Weddle, who shot the image, told The Guardian in 2019, "I'm still in contact with Spencer. I used to think, man, when that kid's 16 he's going to hate my guts." He doesn't, but he's conflicted about the picture. He feels that everybody made money off it and he didn't. I think he deserves something, but it's always the record labels that make the money. Not true. There's at least 3 major publications named there that Spencer was in business with, recreating that image, speaking about it, and living off the fame that he got from it. So he's made money some way. He's maybe not made money on the original image in the album, but he's done alright by the seemings of it. And as you say, the context of him having some sort of art fucking display going on, the band not being interested in being involved, and why would they? The art's not to do with Nevermind. It's his own art. Like,
It's so like obviously we do that "I'm not a lawyer" thing on the show all the time.
you know.
And we have to kind of do that here, but then at the same time it's like, well, I think the discussion around this really surrounds the idea of not necessarily what's legally right, but what's morally right.
It definitely takes both, I agree.
I do see his argument. I do see that it must be annoying and frustrating knowing it's the child porn thing that fucks this for me, because this just isn't child porn, and we all know it's not child porn, but that's the only hope that he's got of having a case.
Yep.
It would be a lot harder for him to go, well, it just doesn't seem fair that like everybody involved in this has made so much money apart from me. He'd have more of my respect if he made that argument, and then you'd have to go through a legal discussion on whether the law needs to be changed surrounding the idea of subjects of photos, copyright of photos.
If only this was in Poland. Remember the Witcher thing?
Yeah.
That's maybe where he would have context to say, well, actually, this was sold maybe not expecting there to be so much commercial success.
Yeah.
However, in retrospect, we've realised that this has made a lot of money and you've been unfairly compensated.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Yeah.
That's not an argument for child porn, an argument saying anything like that.
Yeah.
So
the only saving grace for this, I think, for me, is being able to look at this and say, nobody's on his side, which I think is a big relief.
I think there'll be some people on his side in the case of, if you don't want to give consent for that image to be distributed anymore, then that is your right to some degree. But you can't really revoke 30 years of one of the most popular albums on earth having already been distributed.
Yeah.
And everybody and their granny probably knows about the image. If you mention Nirvana and you say the album cover with the baby, everybody would know it. Not everybody, but the significant majority of anyone who's over 15, will know of this.
Yeah. I don't actually think I agree on the idea that like consent being revoked in that sense, because it puts...
If it's for further pressings, but you can't revoke consent in the sense that everybody that's got a copy of this album has to hand it back.
I also don't think you can revoke it in future settings because it just.
I'm talking about ongoing consent rather than it being like a. Because ultimately, him not saying he doesn't want it or spending 30 years leaning into it gave the legal precedent that he's fine with it. So
But
then
it's
to
more
revoke
than that. It's
consent
just
at this point.
It's just this idea that, like, when it comes to business, if you can just revoke consent for something you've participated in, could be 5 years ago, could be 30 years ago. If you can do that, it kind of undermines the entire concept of what a contract is.
But there's no contract here.
There'll be contracts in place for this. He might not be involved in them.
I don't think it would have been, considering the parents were maybe paid $250 and it was their first commercial release before they were massive.
They will have signed a release. The parents will have signed a release.
Aye, but well, I suppose that is a contract.
Yeah.
What I mean is, like, were that to have been the case, even if it's just a handshake agreement, there's $250 for let me take these photos, thanks very much, then that's the consent given.
Yeah.
That's it. He himself, as a party, can say, I'm not really comfortable with that, but there's no talk of a contract. There's nothing in this case says anything about, well, we need to refer back to what the original agreement was. Yeah. And really, the only person I think that could give proper clarification, or the only people, are his parents or Kirk Weddle, the photographer. Because Spencer wasn't there to say, oh, they definitely said that this would happen. Yeah. And it's then going to be a he said, she said, she said, what a spoonerism, between Kirk and the parents. Yeah. And the parents haven't said we didn't give it any consent. Yeah. It's him, Spencer.
Now, of course, I think the biggest highlight of this case, the thing we can take away from this, is the sheer amount of memes that have been posted of other albums featuring young people or people in one way, shape or form. And my favourite, of course, is going to be the Megadeth Euthanasia one. Mm-hmm. Dave, you would think that Dave is going to have a very big bill surrounding all the children on the cover of Euthanasia. But then you remember the album is called Euthanasia, so I imagine many of those children didn't survive.
Yeah, but they weren't naked, so there's no child porn.
Good point, yeah.
Unless they were female, in which case there is kind of half frontal nudity.
Yeah.
I think they can probably revoke consent there, because, I mean, we all know, living in the autocratic state of Britain, that nipples are illegal. Men's nipples, fine. Women's nipples, get out of here.
In theory, there should have been another story we talked about where I can't even remember what it was.
The Metal Fest online. Yeah. It was the Wargasms bassist nipples. I did read that.
Yeah. Pulled from the stream because nipples.
Where was the stream? Twitch.
Yeah.
Well, there's no really an argument there. Then Twitch has got their own codes of conduct. You need to follow their user agreement. Nudity isn't one of the things that they allow, and that happens across the board. Yeah. Shit. Pretty stupid to think that you're going to have an extreme metal fest online without there being something that's maybe controversial. But it's a fucking nipple. Get a grip.
Well, I'm gonna end the show now with a contrary thought to that, if you like. And actually, I think that maybe if we go down the path that you're going down there, we could make a very dark future for ourselves, where nipples aren't taboo. And I say that would be a dark future, because then where would the enjoyment in seeing a nipple come from?
Right here, baby.
This show is brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. We want to remind you guys that there is still time to get involved in the upcoming Run 16 guitars. Those include these incredible hypes available in 5 new colours. That Dragon Burst is absolutely stunning. You can also get your hands on one of the Metal X's, again available in a range of finishes. My personal pick has to be these headless Vs, absolutely outrageously cool. Imagine one of those in an 8-string, I absolutely love these. And finally, the Ando San signature model, available in 6, 7 and 8-string availability. Go and check them out at Ormsby's website right now. This show is also brought to you by our friends over at Rev Amplification, a one-stop shop for all of your tonal needs. Head on over to their website to check out their range of lunchbox amplifiers, both the D20 and G20, 20-watt amplifiers with built-in 2-notes torpedo technology so you can record direct into your computer. If that doesn't suit, you can also check out one of their highly popular G2, 3 and 4 pedals, giving you that trademark Rev tone in a stomp box. Incredible tones, I use these myself. And finally, you may notice in the back of these videos a Rev Generator 120, an absolute masterclass in modern electric guitar tones. Check it out at their site now. So, as always, a huge thanks to our friends and family over at both Ormsby Guitars and Rev Amplification, and our friends over at VPix. Please do go and check all those guys out. Send them some love, kindness, and support because they support, I was going to say, your favourite content creators. Are we your favourite content? I hope we're your favourite content creators.
The content creators that you put up with on a Monday basis.
Yes. And in theory, every Monday. We won't just randomly skip them in the future.
No, totally. Well, we didn't randomly skip it, and I actually want to just to go back to what you said earlier on at the very start of the recording. Like, we had people reach out to say what happened, like, what's going on, is everything okay? Are we getting an episode? Like, that means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Certainly does to me. I'm not going to speak on behalf of Levi, but I'm pretty confident in saying we do this knowing that there's love involved. People are into it. People have fun. It's a good place to come and talk shit and have a couple of hours away from reality, maybe even just sitting on the internet with your online pals for an hour or two. People come into the chat and waiting for the premiere like an hour or two early. Yeah, that I don't want to say it baffles me, man, but it's
touching.
I totally like it. I respect that. I don't take that lightly. Yeah, it's not something that's looked over. So thank you. Yeah,
and sorry we let you down one week. Trust me, you didn't want to see that. It wasn't funny.
I think we've done pretty well considering we're doing one every 2 weeks. Fuck it, let's get one a weekend. And we've been consistent from that point, other than when there's been emergencies.
Oh,
fair?
What's Joseph going to steal for me? Fucking Lego Star Wars.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice. So, yeah, as always, big thank you guys for checking the podcast out. If you have enjoyed it, like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Send us some fan mail to GsolesFanMail@gmail.com. Reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions, and ideas. Anything you want to add, Mike?
The bonus episodes are up on Buy Me a Coffee.
We need to do another one.
We do, actually, yes, which is going to be Rust in Peace.
Yes, we're going to listen to Rust in Peace, talk about Rust in Peace, and Mike's going to play probably all of Rust in Peace.
Everything except Lucretia, and potentially like 5 Magics and some of the fast drifts and Poison Was the Cure.
I can play Dawn Patrol.
On the bass?
No, just on
the
guitar.
Yeah. Right. You know that there actually was a guitar track for that, and they took it off the album because they hated Marty Friedman's solos. Oh. It was just apparently it was just wild solos, and Dave's like, nah, we'll just rub it back to the bass and drums.
That makes sense, to be fair, because he has some pretty wild and out there guitar playing on all of the album. So.
Oh man, 5 Magic, some of the solos in that are wild.
Yeah.
The solo on Poison Was a Cure is mind-bending, the speed it.
Yeah, so looking forward to listening to that one.
But yes, you want to access that, you'll get it on Buy Me a Coffee. That's if you want to subscribe. You don't have to subscribe, you can give us a one-off. Outside of that, if you would rather just watch it, totally appreciate that. There is no paywall here. You don't have to support us to get access to our stuff. We're on every Monday Night Guitar Geek Club. Represent! Woo-woo! Don't know why I turned into a juggalo there. Thanks very much. Leave a wee like. If you've not hit the like button so far, please do. It helps us with the algorithm, you know.
Counteracts Rob Chapman as well.
Yes. And Lance, wherever he's hiding. Still need to laugh the fact that somebody came on to the live episode as Lance Benedict in the chat. That was tremendous. Yeah. If you'd like a live episode, we've not done one in a while, give us a holler. We'll go for it. If you want to join us for...
I've got a bottle of Jack and Victor in the house.
Oh, did you get one? Aye?
Yeah.
I'm scared. I'm not drinking again. I had a 2-day hangover and I think I maybe had like 4 beers. I was at a wedding last week.
What happens when you get old?
Oh, mate, I am totally not fit for a drink anymore. I'm an old man.
Yeah, I can kind of semi-relate on that one.
I was kind of all right for the day after. I was a wee bit rough and then it got worse during the day. Day 2 was worse. And I was like, what the fuck, body? Don't be like that with me. Jesus Christ. Anyway, thanks very much.
Good. Mike.
Much appreciated.
Until next time.
Goodbye, fuckers. Hit that like button. Love yous.